Welcome back to the Midnight Gospel, where we fall asleep into dreaming of being there in our favorite Bible stories. Tonight, we begin with the story of Bartimaeus by the Jericho road found in the quiet spaces of Mark chapter 10. These aren't sermons. They're stories retold slowly to help your body rest and your soul come home back to God. This video was made to help you drift to sleep while drawing near to something holy. Even if you fall asleep before the end, the story will keep walking with you. You don't have to listen closely. Just let it settle into your breath before morning decides anything. Bartimaeus is already awake. The linen is light on his shoulders, smelling of sun and last week's wash. He lies still. There is peace in being quiet first, not reaching yet, not moving. Stone is cool beneath the side of his hand. The ground never surprises, never breaks its promises. It holds him. Another slow inhale. The world is a hush of almost day. His fingers stretch under the cloth, not searching for anything, just noticing the way threads catch. The fabric reminds him he is here and that it is morning again. Breath settles deeper now. He hears animals before he remembers people. Somewhere up the road, a donkey shifts. Its hooves scrape old dust into the air. A bird flutters too close, then vanishes. Sheep, just a few, make a sound like breathing out. That's all. If there is wind, it's barely more than a thought. It slips under the linen, brings a taste of cold. His skin shivers once and then stops. The warmth of sleep never fully leaves. Every morning begins by remembering how still things can be. Not a prayer spoken, just silence shaping itself around him. He listens for footsteps, but none pass. Not yet. Bartimaeus waits, soft as the road beside him. Nothing presses him to rise. Sometimes in the early minutes the world is nothing but the weight of his own chest. Up, down. He counts breaths without really counting. Chest lifts, settles, each time a little slower. Linen slides, loose and familiar as he curls in on himself. He is learning the patience of waking, one muscle at a time. Nothing to rush. No one to please. The story of his day can move as slow as shadow. A far-off voice, a woman calling to her goats maybe, is part of the background. It doesn't reach him. Only half heard, lighter than the breeze. Someone else's morning, safely small. His toes press into dirt. He can feel pebbles stuck to his heel. Hints of last night's cold linger. The ground holds no opinions. It remembers everyone who lays here, then forgets soon after. Let this morning be uneventful. Let this stillness stretch forever. It is a good thing to lie waiting. Even the blind can feel sunrise arrive, slow as a yawn. Daylight never hurries for him. It arrives by degrees, dust, then warmth. Then the faintest golden shift he knows comes with sound. Bartimaeus breathes in, lets it out. He hears a pot scrape stone far off. Someone else is waking, opening a day with the same old chores. Water needs drawing, bread needs kneading. Not yet for him. He asks for nothing and still feels full. Each sense greets him quiet. The way cloth rubs his neck. The scent of oil from skin and last night's lamp, faded but clinging. Lips dry, tongue tasting the edge of thirst but not enough to rise. Let it wait. No one bothers him. That is the grace of mornings by this road. Before the city wakes, everyone is allowed to be nobody for a while. A chicken threads somewhere between tents, scratching, content to go unnoticed. The air carries hints of old bread and wood smoke, neighbors, far but not too far away. Even this silence is holy. A slow turn just the shoulder as Bartimaeus shifts within his linen nest. There is comfort in the knowing. Every thread of this blanket, every uneven spot in the stone, he knows them. They are as much company as strangers' footsteps will be come noon. A dog paws at something just out of reach, an old bone or maybe a stone with yesterday's smell. It grumbles, sniffs, then lies down again. Bartimaeus smiles. He has learned to love these pause moments, when even animals know nothing important needs to happen yet. The city wall keeps the dawn close to the ground. The chill lasts, even as the air smudges gently toward warm. He lets his jaw relax, lips part. A yawn comes, wide and secret. No one sees, but slowing down is allowed here. If the day must begin, let it begin like this, stretching, patient, safe. He presses both hands to the stone now. Palms trace patches of dust stuck from yesterday. He rubs thumb against palm, scrapes dried mud away in lazy circles. This is how mornings remember themselves. No one notices the prayer, but it is heard. Sometimes he listens for birds he can't name. Their little songs drop and vanish behind his ears. He guesses blue in the sky but lets it stay a guess. Some mysteries do better in shadow, found only by feeling. He is not lonely here, not wanting. The road may be empty, but it breathes with him, slow, faithful, like the God he knows but cannot picture. Let the body rest a little longer. The city can wait. Nothing urgent. That's the rhythm here. Someone further down the road coughs. Not important. Bartimaeus lets it pass. He tries not to wonder what he will eat. Hunger comes slower when the world is quiet. For now he stays in this moment, soft, safe, easy to forget. The linen bunches under his chin. He pinches it, smooths a seam between thumb and forefinger. The familiar shapes of wear and mending. Mother's hands years ago. He doesn't need to see to know morning has arrived. He tastes it, hears it, feels it, in the way nothing and nobody hurries here. Let it stretch. Let boredom be holy. Bartimaeus closes his eyes, not that it changes much. He listens as the world keeps making the same small sounds. Goats tap their horns on old barrels. A pipe begins somewhere nearby, wind dancing along the hollow reed. This is peace, he thinks, but lets the thought pass. No story, just a body, a road, and time to be neither hero nor burden, just a part of the morning. He is neither hurried nor held, not seen, not ignored. The world waits with him quietly. Soon, day will come and steps will pass, but not yet. Let sleep linger at the edges. Let the silence last, even as Bartimaeus, waiting beside the road, listens for nothing at all but the mercy of another uneventful day. The first sound is the soft shift of ashes. Someone touching yesterday's coals with a stick, hoping they've kept a little heat through the night. It's not really morning until you hear that. You wait for that breath of quiet fire and it comes, never fast, always a patient search in the graying dark. He sits there, Bartimaeus, on the edge of what is still and what will begin. The room is cool. Every footstep is a hush. A body sliding along an old stone wall. Someone coughs. A clay bowl finds its place without hurry. The world feels very small and very safe, tucked inside the low roof of morning. The bread takes its time. Flour and water and a pinch of salt, nothing borrowed or stolen. Someone's hands do the turning, slow and steady, pressing and lifting, pressing and lifting. You hear it before you see it, a kind, dull rhythm like a song that's always been there. It's not for the crowd. It's not even for the cook. It is just the work of waking up. And Bartimaeus listens, holding the quiet as if he's holding his own breath. In the corner, there's a little oil set out and olives in a dish. The fruit is dark, almost black, smooth as river stones. They wait their turn. The clay pitcher holds water a bit cooler than the room. Nothing is poured quickly. There is no reason to rush. Every movement is shaped by how long the morning is willing to wait. The fire catches finally, not loud, just a tiny crackle, a flick of orange, some warmth sliding into the edges of the air. Bread is pressed flat and lifted and turned again. It smells like earth and like hands, something honest. Bartimaeus feels it in the room, the sleep lifting, bit by bit, from everyone's shoulders. The world outside is still pale. You could almost forget anyone else exists. Sometimes that feels holy too. Breakfast is not a feast. He sits with his back to the wall, legs folded beneath. Someone passes him the smallest piece, rough, hot, plain. Salt rests on his tongue and oil follows, smooth and gentle, swallowing sunlight from the pressed clay jar. He chews, and there is time between every bite. There always is. He asks for nothing, and still feels full. Cups clink, feet scrape. A low whisper carries simple thanks, offered without spectacle. The work of breakfast doesn't end. There are crumbs to catch, cloths to fold, dust that waits by the doorway. Each morning is like the last, and that is good. The body learns the song of small rituals: grinding, lifting, passing, eating, resting. The quiet work that fills the hours between waking and leaving. Let this moment stretch. Nothing calls for your attention. The night's hush is not over yet. Even this silence is holy. Even as the world stirs itself outside, the noise, the plans, the movements of people, inside is just the warm circle of bread, the slowness of oil poured from jar to plate. You listen and your breath falls into their rhythm, slow, simple, safe. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. By the low slant of morning, the air inside Bartimaeus's home was cool, barely stirring. There was the hush of linen pulled over his shoulders, a slow reach for his sandals, the quiet sound of leather straps sliding through worn loops, not tight, not rushed. He tied them the way he always did, fingers finding each wrap by habit. The floor was smooth beneath his feet, swept the night before. He paused. There was nothing pressing, just another ordinary day, no reason for it to hurry. He listened. The small hush between outside and inside, a scrap of bird song, soft as a secret, resting on the windowsill. The world waiting for him but not calling. He let his breath in and out, long, gentle, easing the body into waking slowly. Even this silence is holy. Bartimaeus stood, steadying himself. The press of air changed as he neared the door, a soft gust carrying the familiar dust. Warmth slipped across his arms. He stepped outside. Nothing happened but the steps, one slow, measured foot, then the next. The path to the Jericho road was well known to him, traced by 100 quiet mornings. Pebbles clicked underfoot. The sound was small but certain. With every step he let the day settle beneath his soles. He could feel the world's edge, soft and unseen as bread dough rising. Breathe here too, let this moment stretch. He paused at the turning of a corner, not because he needed to, but because he could. The stillness waited, gentle and sure. Someone far off called to a child, voice floating on the air. Bartimaeus felt the weight of his satchel against his side. There was no story in it, just day-old bread, a coin, a piece of cloth he folded without really thinking. Each step toward the road was slow, not for any reason but that there was nothing to chase, no crowd to catch. Sometimes a goat would pass by, bells muffled by dust. Sometimes wind would settle on his skin, light, then gone. He was neither late nor early. He simply moved forward, breathing in, breathing out. There is more quiet than noise if you listen for it. Bartimaeus traced the edge of a wall with his hand, cool stone steadying his fingers. He counted his steps the way you count soft heartbeats. Along the way, he found the pulse of the day slow and sure. Listeners, notice the space between each movement. The world breathes with you now. When the lane grew wider, the smells changed, sun-warmed earth, a hint of olives, the dampness of shaded ground. The road began here. It was never far. Bartimaeus stopped and listened, not with his ears only, but with all of himself. Each silence made the world feel bigger. The Lord knows the hush that waits in simple places. There, a distant quail called from the grass. Bartimaeus let the sound pass through him, leaving nothing behind but peace. He sat carefully, feeling the cool earth under his legs. There was nothing left to do. No one watched, and still God was near. Let the quiet carry you. Rest in the pause between footsteps even now as you follow this slow walk. The day is not in a hurry, and neither are you. Just the sound of breath and dust, and a road that waits, holding stillness like a cup. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The story walks beside you, softer than sleep. The morning has long passed. It's not hot anymore, not truly, just a steady warmth holding the stones. Bartimaeus is already settled in his spot. He's been here before the street filled up, before anyone cared to look. No one asks him to move. The stretch of cloth under his legs is worn, soft at the edges, cool where the sun hasn't touched it. His fingers remember every fold. He shifts just enough to press himself close to the rough stone wall. The mark of it settles through his tunic, not sharp, just old, comfortable. Sometimes when the light drifts around a corner, he feels it on his arm, a stripe of heat, fading as quickly as it came. He doesn't chase it. He just lets it happen. Even shadows feel solid when you're quiet. He listens to the hush of it. He leans into the edge between dark and sun. The way dust can stay in air for so long, never really landing, just spinning. There are footsteps on the road always. Some light, almost skipping, most just slow, flat, pacing out the day. The sandals scrape past, step after step. There's a rhythm in it if you stay still, a kind of music nobody made. It's not special. It just is. His back finds the groove in the wall where he always sits. Nothing new, stone after stone, cold pressed into warm. He doesn't move unless he needs to. Rest is heavy but good. Leaning back, he lets his body sink, knees bent, shoulders loose, breathing easy against the wall. Air drifts upward, carrying the smell of bread baked early and the far-off bite of someone washing wool. He asks for nothing and still feels full. Someone nearby adjusts their basket, fabric sliding over the ground. There's a quiet grunt, a little cough, then nothing. Silence stretches out. Even the tiniest sound, a whisper, a pebble kicked by accident, travels further in the shade. Nothing happens for a long time. He stays. The world floats past him, shadow and light changing places with the smallest tilt of the sky. Not one rushes. Even the goats, when they pass, sound sleepy. Bartimaeus listens. His palms rest open, lines creased, sunburnt. He can hear the closeness of his own breath, gentle in and out. Still, the body remembers to rest. Let this moment stretch. The stones remember yesterday's heat. They don't hurry to let it go. He runs his thumb along a crack in the wall, little bits of earth under his nail. He wonders how many times he's traced that same line, finding comfort in what doesn't change. Shade gathers, moves with the hour, but his place stays the same. Someone walks by, their shadow passing over his feet, cool, then gone. No words, no rush. The world moves carefully around people who are sitting down, waiting. No one knows for sure what he's thinking, but that's all right. He doesn't need to be busy, doesn't need to worry if someone notices. He is noticed, and that is enough. Let even this silence be holy. The street grows quieter as afternoon leans toward evening. Every sound softens, as if made gentle by the heat fading from the stone. Bartimaeus leans heavier into the wall, lets the last bit of sunlight slip over his knees. He's just here, settled in shadow. The body, at peace, does its own kind of prayer. There are days when Bartimaeus sits by the road before dawn, long before the light has warmed the stones or lifted the haze from the air. The road to Jericho isn't much, but it carries the shape of many travelers. He knows the gentle slope in the dust, the way footsteps gather, lose themselves and sweep on like a shallow stream. He listens. That's most of what he does. Sometimes the road is empty, and there is only silence and the tick of loose pebbles, shifting in the wake of someone who already passed. Sometimes footsteps come, first just one or two, then only softly, a slow-growing hush of many. Each pair blends into the next. The sound is always the same, yet always changing. Sandals brushing the earth, leather against grit, a hush, a pattern, the faintest thunder. No names, no stories, just the quiet passing of lives he never sees. If Bartimaeus was to measure the world, it would not be by sight, but by how footsteps reveal the day. Loud ones at midday, quick and light when children skid past, heavy with carts creaking behind. Still, he only lets the sounds drift through him, tide in, tide out. Let this moment stretch. Most feet come and go without pausing. It is like listening to the river flow, sometimes closer, sometimes farther off. Voices rise and sink, a scrap of laughter or a burst of tired talk, but the road always returns to quiet. Every few heartbeats, a new rhythm arrives and leaves again. Even this silence is holy today. The crowd is neither thick nor thin, just enough to keep the breeze moving, just enough to send another shiver of sound each time a group passes by. Bartimaeus sits very still, feeling the air shift, the hush growing, scattering, falling back into dust. Some sandals make a soft slap, slow and certain. Some barely whisper. There is no reason to remember them. Each has somewhere to be. Each disappears. After a while, the road forgets the press of every foot. But Bartimaeus remembers the way the dust settles, cooling again. Footsteps, dust, silence. Again and again. The night listens with you, nothing changes, really. People keep passing. Sometimes he thinks he can tell who is burdened and who is in a hurry. Sometimes he just hears his own breath. Passing feet echo and then fade, no one stops. No one looks his way. Yet in the small hush that returns he feels seen, a little. Not by faces, but maybe by something larger, quieter, older than the road or the stones or the crowd. Let this moment stretch, and on it goes. Footsteps into silence. Sand blowing over the marks, quiet rippling outward. Again and again, you don't have to stay awake to hear them all. The footsteps go on and the road waits. The dust settles. The holy hush lingers, and Bartimaeus, still, quiet, listening, rests in the gentle rhythm, held in the passing and the peace it brings. It's late in the afternoon on the Jericho road. The shadows move slow. A breeze stirs the dust, and every footstep sounds softer as the sun edges down. Bartimaeus rests with both hands holding a clay cup in his lap. The cup is plain, worn smooth along the rim by patient fingers and years of waiting. He runs his thumb around the top, slow circles, not hurried, not sharp, just following the gentle curve again and again. There's a chip at one edge, cool and catching. Then the rest is unbroken and warm, holding the last of the day's sun. He feels the weight, how it settles into his palms. It is heavier than water, lighter than a stone. Solid, somehow, simple, steady. Bartimaeus isn't thinking in words. He just notices. The way the cup grows warmer where his hand covers it, how the inside stays cool and still. The cup is empty, and that is all right. The emptiness is not an ache, it just is. A soft space. He feels inside it, the way air waits in a quiet room. He moves his fingers to the belly of the vessel, tracing the clay, where the potter's hands pressed and shaped and pulled. There's a dryness to the touch, just a whisper of grit beneath the smooth. Let this moment stretch. Bartimaeus doesn't know who made the cup. It passed from someone's care to his, lost and found in the market, forgotten and picked up again. There is no writing on it, no marks, only a story you can't read but you can feel. The light falls warmer still. He cups both hands around the vessel, feeling that faint heat sinking in. He listens to the hush. The cup sits in his lap waiting too. Sometimes a few coins clink inside. Sometimes just dust or the trace of last night's bread. Today only stillness. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Even this silence is holy. The road behind him slows. Somewhere a child laughs. Farther off someone calls for water. But here only the warmth of clay, the breath in his chest, and the emptiness that holds something like hope. The day does not hurry. Bartimaeus does not mind waiting. The cup rests light and patient above his knees. No one notices. The waiting itself is a prayer, even if there are no words. Bartimaeus would not know how to explain. He only keeps holding the clay, feeling the shape of all it might one day carry, and the peace of all it does not. The night listens with you. The sun was straight overhead by now, sitting heavy across the roofs, hardly moving. It pressed against the stones of the road and made them warm all the way through. Every step out there was slow, careful. No one rushed. No one called out. There was nothing sharp left to say, just the soft hush of being too tired for much noise. Bartimaeus stayed by the wall, cool where the stone met shadow, warm where the sunlight crept forward. The folds of his cloak had soaked up the sun. He pulled them closer, felt their weight, not heavy but enough. His robe held the shape of the morning, softened by midday. He listened to the small things. Sandals scraped. Flies hovered, their buzzing drifting in and out. In the heat, voices lost their edges, wrapped up in the thick, lazy air. Even the breeze forgot itself for a little while, only nudging the curls of dust every so often. Each moment stretched out, gentle and slow. Bartimaeus let the world come to him, bit by bit. He did not chase the sounds. He only took what the day gave, the warmth on his hand, a faint sigh from someone settling on the ground nearby, the slow rise and fall of resting bodies all around. The air smelled like old bread and olive leaves, something sweet, softened by sun. Somewhere, a jug tipped, water pouring out in a lazy stream. It felt like a secret signal, time to wait, to do less, to let the day do its work. Even the insects seemed to agree. Their song faded. Quiet held its breath as if the whole world pressed pause for a heartbeat or two. No one asked for anything. No one expected stories or miracles. Bartimaeus gave himself to the slow, full silence. His stomach grumbled softly, nothing urgent. He shifted, felt the warmth in his knee, the cool stone below. He heard the road, not as a line between one place and the next, but as a patchwork of warmth and shadow, a place to rest. For a little while it was enough just to be here, letting time pass without counting the minutes. Now and then a passer-by stopped beside the wall, their voice too soft to make out. Feet brushed the loose dust. Someone coughed. It all blurred together, stitched by the midday quiet. Let this moment stretch. Even this silence is holy. The sun made watchers of everyone. No one could move fast in this heat. Each person waited for something cool, but the waiting itself turned into rest. Bartimaeus had no reason to hurry. He listened. He shifted. He let the world fill him up, one slow moment at a time. He asked for nothing and still felt full. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. The quiet of midday was a blessing, not loud, not full of answers, just there, holding him, holding everyone. The stones, the heat, the floating, endless pause of being alive at noon. You can let this moment stay with you, lying back into the hush of the day, feeling the warmth pressing softly over you, accepting it as a kind of gentle presence. Even if your eyes are heavy, even if your thoughts wander, this silence listens, too, and the sun keeps watch, steady and slow. There's a warm place in the road's slow curve, just before the sun drifts all the way past noon, where the shade lasts a while longer. Bartimaeus sits by the dust, steady and small, hardly noticed by anyone but the ants and the cool square of shadow. He hears footsteps come and go, voices taper off, leaving only the soft scrape of sandals and the hush of a slow, simple afternoon. Someone settles quietly beside him, not for conversation, just to pause beneath the same slip of relief from the heat. The air is thick with summer and the faint scent of figs, ripened skin and green leaves. A hand places something on Bartimaeus' knee, a piece of fruit, its surface strangely cool from the traveler's palm. He turns it gently with his fingers, tracing the rough edge, the soft point at the bottom, the thin groove left by the stem. It's real and close. No one speaks. The breeze slips past and ruffles the dust along their feet, letting this moment grow long and wide. He peels back the fruit, skin giving way with a small sound, a quiet yielding, a tiny sigh. The sweetness spreads over his hands and even the air seems to soften around him. They sit together, silent. He eats slowly. No rush, no expectation. The flesh of the fruit presses cool against his tongue. Juice gathers at his fingertips, trickling down and drying in the afternoon warmth. The peel falls in quiet pieces near his sandals. There's nothing else to do but share what is here. He hears the easy rhythm of another's breath, feels the kindness tucked into this bare act. the way two people, strangers really, can rest simply in the same shade. No need for words, nothing owed. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The air changes gently when the fruit is gone. The companion stands, dusts off, and walks away into the next patch of sun. No glance back, no farewell. Just the sound of footsteps, softer now, folding again into afternoon. Bartimaeus presses sweet-smelling fingers to his lips. The shade stays a moment longer. Silence settles all around, making room for the day to continue, unchanged. Let this moment stretch. Even this quiet is holy. The road keeps carrying others. The crowd moves along, not noticing a thing. Yet a kindness was here, shared, now left behind, gentle as the skin of fruit, softer than anyone could remember if asked. The night listens with you, and the shade lingers, keeping its secret. The sun was warm, shadows drawn wide across the stones. Somewhere close, a scroll was unrolled. You could hear the papyrus shift, slow and careful, like blankets being folded, softer than words, soothing just to listen. Bartimaeus did not see, but he noticed the sound, the gentle pull, the steady hush, familiar and safe, like bread tearing in hands you trust. No one raised a voice. The scroll stayed open, resting on worn knees. The holy word stayed sleeping inside, tucked away from the busy crowd and the sand drifting underfoot. People passed by. Sandals thudded and whispered in the dust. Sometimes a person would pause and the air would change. A small pocket of hush, all because the scroll was there. No verse was spoken aloud. No lesson waited to be taught. The silence carried the meaning deeper than voices. Bartimaeus sat with his back against the wall. The world was closed to his eyes, but nothing felt lacking. He listened, not for miracles, not for answers, only for the gentle telling of time. The sound of wind, the turning of a page, the sweep of a cloak. He did not reach for the scroll. He did not need to. Just being near it was enough, like the small glow left behind after a candle blows out. At the edge of speech, a reverence hummed, unseen but real. People noticed but did not name it. They let the moment stretch. Even the goats were slower, settling in the shade, chewing quietly. Someone sipped water. Someone laughed softly. Somewhere the bread browned on the fire. Bartimaeus heard none of the words inside the scroll. Still, its presence felt full, holding the day in calm. All the stories inside, waiting, not pressing forward, not hurrying to be told, just waiting, tucked in the folds of time. The man folding laundry nearby was careful with each shirt. The woman beside him set figs on a tray. The scroll, open but unread, sat like a gentle invitation. Holiness, not demanding. The Lord was near in the nothingness, in the unsaid. It might have been an hour or only a few breaths. The air around the scroll stayed quiet as a prayer with no words. Bartimaeus let it be. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you, the day kept moving, even as nothing important seemed to happen. By now, Bartimaeus knew the rhythm on this road. Sandals touching stone, slow and steady, sometimes fast, sometimes barely scraping. The crowds had come and gone, but the footsteps never really stopped. Even at the end of the afternoon, there would always be another pair, and another, like the sea coming back again between wider pauses. He sat low, cloak folded, fingers pressed soft over the old dust, nothing in a hurry. Sometimes a group shuffled past, children with mothers talking quietly, or a trader counting coins. Sometimes only one person walked by, their steps stretched out, each one gentle and heavy. For those moments the world breathed in and out, each footfall made a rhythm. Inhale for one, exhale for another. Sandal, stone, breath. Sandal, stone, breath. Over and over, as if time could smooth itself out by moving slow and steady. The sun warmed one cheek, breezes cooled the other. The story of the day repeating, not quite the same, but not truly different. Sometimes Bartimaeus let his own breath match the wandering pace, letting thoughts drift, unimportant. A voice might rise and then fade. The road would be empty for a while, then full again, never loud, always returning to quiet. The sound of someone's robe brushing dust, a cough, the soft tap of a walking stick finding its path. Resting his head against the rough wall, he listened for the lull in each wave of feet, each set passing, always replaced by new ones. People coming and going, none staying long, no faces lasting in memory. But somehow the sameness slowed time, made it gentle, almost kindly boring. Even the air was old and familiar, warmed by the low sun, thick with the day's old stories. Let this moment stretch. There is holiness in not much happening at all. The sound of sandals like rocks in the riverbed, worn smooth by endless passing. Everything gathered here, waiting, but not waiting for anything special. Simply being, with dust, with breath, with the steady comfort of repetition. Even this silence is holy. No one asked Bartimaeus what he saw in the emptiness. Still, he felt full. Footsteps echoing in his ears, the soft hush as crowds faded into dusk. The hush stayed when the voices left. One more wave of travelers ahead, one more slow returning of steps behind. The night listens with you, let your breath follow the road. Inhale with one foot, exhale with another. Let time fold, gentle and unbroken. Rest here, unseen but fully held while the road keeps moving beside you. The lamp is out. The linen is cool beneath my hands. I fold it once more, slow, pressing out the dust. Outside, the road to Jericho is empty. Stones remember the day, rough and still a little warm from the sun. I reach for the water, a clay jar chipped at the rim, heavier than it looks. I tip it until the sound begins. Water moving over its own small world, it pours into the cup. A thin line, a hush into quiet. I wait just to listen. Just for the sound, the cup feels good in my palm. The edge, cold and grounded against my skin. I let my breath out before drinking. Everything slows, I drink. The water is plain, just water. Cold and soft, it fills my mouth, then disappears. I swallow. The air waits while I drink again. It tastes like earth, like days full of nothing and everything. Each sip is a letting go. There is nothing left to expect now. No crowd, no footsteps, no miracle. Just the jar, its weight, and the quiet thud as I set it down. I lean back. I pull the blanket over my legs, eyes closed even before the night settles. My breath is thick and easy. I whisper to someone who listens, keep me in the quiet stillness holds me. The Lord knows my breath, I am not forgotten. God walks slowly too, grace is here. Nothing is wasted, I am seen, I am carried. This night is enough. Amen, amen, amen. Some afternoons are shaped mostly by the way shadows change. Bartimaeus sits with his back against the warmth of a stone wall. The road is there, somewhere just ahead, marked by the soft presence of passing feet, distant voices and bits of drifting air that smell faintly of dust and olive oil. He keeps his hands in his lap, folded like old letters. There's no hurry. He listens. Sometimes the world is full of steady, grown-up sounds, the drag of someone's sandal, a cough, a neighbor greeting another, each noise with its own slow rhythm. Even these feel rounded, as if pressed gently by the sun. And then, children run somewhere beyond the curve of the road, not close enough to feel, not far enough to miss. Their voices come soft, like cloth slipping through fingers, no sudden shouts, no sharp edges. Just laughter, a little tangled, softened by the air and the space around them. It's hard to know what the game is. Bartimaeus listens. The steps are light, the running uneven, and he hears the way their shoes pat at the ground, sometimes closer, mostly fading. There are giggles, rising like bubbles, then they break, dissolving almost before they reach him. He recognizes the feeling. Not joy exactly, but a gentle ripple, a memory barely named, moving through him like a slow wave rising and falling across a quiet lake. There is no need to picture them. It's enough, this chorus of faint voices, comfort and freedom floating together. The laughter rises again, washes over the stones, draws back. The game drifts out past the fig trees, caught in the wide hush of the afternoon. A mother's voice calls, low and not hurried. You can hear the same comfort, no scolding, just the reminder of a home waiting somewhere up a lane. Sometimes the children reply, their words thinned out by distance. Sometimes they answer with another burst of laughter, as if the world might go on spinning forever with nothing at all to worry over. The sound hums through the warm air. Then it, too, fades. Bartimaeus doesn't move. His hands stay folded. Even his breath seems to wait, the quiet held in for just another moment. The echoes settle, turning the road back into a slow, still thing. He notices the way his own chest lifts and falls. How the wall behind him holds his weight, reminding him where he is. There is the feel of an evening breeze, shy and almost nothing, tracing past his shoulder. All the loud things are far away. There's just the memory of voices, a blurry patchwork, bright at the edges, softer in the middle. He drifts alongside them, letting the laughter become part of the afternoon, not loud enough to keep, not quiet enough to lose. The children are only echoes now. Their presence trails through the silence, scattered into the patience of dusk. The smell shifts, a faint sweetness as someone peels a fig, or a splash when water is poured into a basin. Everyday sounds, nothing urgent, a pattern, not a story. Bartimaeus feels the beat of it, as if each detail is a stone laid side by side on the path beneath his feet. He doesn't need to know where it leads. A donkey brays somewhere too far to bother. A cart creaks. The song of the road is slow, full of pauses. The world is never really still, but it knows how to quiet itself. Sometimes a child's voice lifts again, just for a heartbeat, reminding him that joy is loose in the world and no one has to deserve it. They disappear behind a wall or into a doorway. The sound blurs until it's nothing at all. But for a while there was only gentleness, steady and small, moving through the spaces where he sat, braided into the day like a thread of gold. He has learned to listen for it, the way some people learn to sleep with a window open, hoping for a breeze. The stones under Bartimaeus are warm. The air is warm. He sits very still, as if the world shrinks down to just these few sensations. A little pressure in his back, the shadow of a branch moving across his feet, the faintest echo, as children wander farther, their feet brushing dry grass. He doesn't mind not seeing. The sounds fill in the empty places, let the day keep going, gentle and unordered. Bartimaeus is content to be background, to listen and to let the world pass by. He asks for nothing, and somehow his heart feels full. A scrap of laughter reaches him, then nothing. For a second he wonders if the children are truly gone, or if some part of them still lingers in the dust and evening air. He likes to believe the sound will stay, soft and uncollected, curled up like a sleeping cat beside where he sits. Not a memory yet, not quite. Even this, just listening, is a way of being kept, of being known, even if it's only by the road and the shadows and the drifting comfort of voices not meant for him, but still close enough to hear, as the world changes around them. He sat on the stone, legs tucked, a little sore from sitting so long. The dust stayed cool, though the sun slipped away. He listened, but there was nothing urgent now, only the settling sound of day giving up. The bread rested in his lap, still warm from the pocket it had spent all afternoon in, pressed tight beside his own thigh. He felt the cloth unwrap, slow and careful, like folding away a small comfort for the night. His fingers knew how to open the thin linen by touch, edges pinched, creases worn soft, his own tracing of what once wrapped wheat and hands and the day's giving. He lifted the bread slowly. The skin of his palm met the rough crust, a gentle scrape, a familiar welcome. In the hush he broke it, no rush, just the slow give, first a small crack, then widening, then the bread splitting open with a quiet sigh. Crumbs speckled the stone between his knees. He brushed some away, then just let them fall. He held one half in both hands, still warm, still smelling of earth and flour. He pressed his thumb again, feeling the softness inside, the slight damp from the heat. He squeezed just gently, and felt the shape change, like dough remembering what it could have been. His teeth met the crust. There was the first crunch, slow, and the sound went nowhere. He chewed with his mouth closed, slow, simple, again and again. Nothing hurried here, nothing pressed or forced. Just the small work of teeth and tongue, bread and breath. Swallow, breathe. Take another bite, a swallow and then a pause. He pressed his back to the wall, feeling the cool stone, feeling the warmth in his hands. The night did not hurry, neither did he. Fingers brushed more crumbs from his lap, some stuck to his skin. He picked at them, felt them roll away. It didn't matter if they stayed or went. Bread made dust and fed bodies. Bread did what it could. He listened. Far away someone said a name, maybe Bartimaeus, maybe not. The sound drifted past, barely breaking the stillness. He chewed again. Less crust now, more softness. He let it rest on his tongue, bread dissolving slow. No one spoke, no need to. He let his head lean forward, chin to chest, like he could rest there a moment. The taste clung, a gentle, flowery touch. He worked his jaw slowly now, barely eating at all, just letting the bread become part of the night, just letting his body remember the taste of being fed, being alive. He took another bite, more crumbs. They scattered in his lap, in the folds of linen between his fingers. He wiped his hands on his cloak. Salt, wheat, skin, woven together in a small nightly ritual. He closed his eyes for a breath or two and kept chewing. A breeze pressed by, not cold, not warm, just there. It curled through the olive branches, carried the tail of someone's voice away. His breathing echoed against the stone, each breath longer now, each movement slower. He finished the first half and for a long while just sat. There was no need to move. The sky still carried the color of bread before it bakes. He tore the second piece smaller, broke off a bit, brought it to his mouth. At this slow hour there were no rules. Eat all of it. Eat just enough. Let the rest wait for morning. Every bite was the same. Every bite was new. He chewed, swallowing the quiet. The stone pressed steady at his back. His hands tucked the last piece of bread under the cloth for later, maybe, or maybe just to hold. He folded the corners over, slow as dusk itself, and rested his hands atop. He listened to night softening, felt his belly rising, falling. There was nothing left to do. He sat in the hush, crumb-dusted and warm, letting dusk fold over him like linen, letting the day end in quiet, sacred chewing. The body full, the heart slow, the hands resting on bread cooled by nightfall. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The day thinned out, right there on the side of the road where Bartimaeus almost always sat. By now, the busy sounds had softened, like a long breath let out and forgotten. He felt the cool come down, even where the stones had been warm under his fingers that afternoon. The sun kept falling behind something he couldn't quite picture, even if he tried. That didn't bother him. Light and color were rumors to his world anyway. He learned the weather by the way people moved. Today, footsteps slowed. Shadows stretched across the voices, long, quiet blankets that made the earth feel wider, softer. Sometimes, Bartimaeus would hear a bird settle down, and then nothing for a while. Not silence exactly, but the kind of hush that comes when even the noisy ones feel the day drift away from them. He heard feet passing at a farther distance now, everyone heading somewhere simple, maybe a bread oven, or a cot, or a lamp just being lit in a kitchen no one ever talked about. He listened, and every pause between steps had its shape. Some sandals scraped, a tired sideways sound, some padded, light and businesslike. Every once in a while there'd be a moment where nobody passed at all. That gap was like water trickling away, one drop at a time. Nothing to see, everything to hear and feel. Air moved in ways Bartimaeus could almost keep track of. At noon it pressed against his skin, dry and close. Now, as the day slipped, it lifted, cooler, gentle, with a tiny shiver drifting down his arm before settling around his waist like a borrowed shawl. The skin under his cloak noticed the difference, cold but not alone. He let his back rest against the rough wall. Even through cloth, he could sense stone holding on to warmth a little longer, stubborn as any old habit. He didn't mind. He knew by the way his knees stiffened that tonight would come slower than most. Last night, clouds blocked the stars and hurried the dark along. But not now. Now even the thieves and dogs seemed quieter, as if the lengthening purple dusk could soothe old arguments into soft anxiety and then release. No need to hurry anywhere, Bartimaeus thought. He let his palms rest open, the way he did sometimes, just to remind himself that holding nothing could feel restful and heavy at the same time. From nearby, a door groaned shut just once and there was nothing sharp in it. Then the scrape of a bucket, the chink of a cup. From time to time, children called to each other, but their voices faded quickly as if bedtime itself stretched out to greet them half a street away. He listened to all of it as though he was counting stones to remember something important, but he didn't know what. Maybe nothing. maybe just the day, now almost gone. No one asked him questions. No one pressed a coin or a crust into his hand now. The bread had been shared and the business of daylight was finished. With the end of buying and selling, voices shifted. They turned softer. Some spoke a blessing for the night, only words, but somehow Bartimaeus noticed. Each one rolled slower as lights started disappearing, one at a time. He didn't see the sky, but he recognized the moment when the world began wrapping itself in the hush of waiting. That waiting, thick and steady as rising dough, told him it was almost time for real rest. He felt his shoulders drop, muscle by muscle, as if answering an invitation. The stillness stretched, blood slowed in his hands, and he let that be more than enough. Someone passed close enough for Bartimaeus to hear their sleeve catch on a branch. They whispered a word. He missed it, but the way it lingered said it wasn't meant for anyone in particular. Maybe for anyone. Maybe for the air itself. Night doesn't always announce its coming. Sometimes it just rearranges everything so gently that no one notices, like slipping a cool sheet over tired legs, like a promise kept between breaths, like a peace that doesn't need explaining. Bartimaeus listened as the day lengthened one last time, a stretch that touched everything, then gave in to the quiet. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Even the waiting was holy. He had learned to hear God in the pause, in the distance, in every small end and gentle beginning. Now shadows made room for the silence. The silence, soft as bread, held him for another night. The day sighs its last. Dust from the road hangs still in the air, settling quietly. There's not much to do when the sky leans toward gray and the market baskets sit empty. I sit with my back against the cool stone. My hands lie open, nothing to hold. Someone nearby folds a cloth, slow and careful, corners lined up. Even the goats are quiet now, just a soft shuffle as they settle in for the night. Breath moves out, soft, comes back in, slower this time. The world hums without hurry. Somewhere, someone closes a wooden door, hinges whisper and then nothing. No words seem right for the things I want to say. It's fine not to speak. Bartimaeus once sat like this, eyes closed, breath easy, listening. Not for miracles, not for crowds passing by, only for the hush that fills the small places left open at the end of the day. I think of him, listening. His longing didn't use words either, just the ache of waiting, the way a chest feels when it's been holding in air too long. Letting it go now, letting it out, soft and steady, until there's nothing left to hold. Maybe that's a prayer too. Sometimes I wonder if God hears what the mouth never speaks, just the slow exhale, the need pressed between heartbeats. Evening makes it easier. Darkness asks nothing. The sun leaves quietly and nobody notices except the sparrows quieting in their nests. I used to think prayers needed shape, a beginning, something neat to hold. But tonight there is only breath and Bartimaeus still just being here. The longing is its own answer. No shaping, no naming, no asking. Just presence settling into the air between things. Let your own breath slow. The road outside Jericho is silent. The crowd is gone. What's left are footprints fading in the reddish dirt. Not even a wind tonight. One more sigh, simple and enough. I hear the water jug cooling along the walls, the last heat fading from the day. Someone else is sweeping, broom swishing against stone, a gentle rhythm to measure the time. Soft half-light curls into corners. Shadows are friendly at dusk, not sharp or frightening. Busy thoughts feel tired, and that is allowed. You can rest now. A prayer doesn't always need a voice. Not here. The ache in your chest, the way your shoulders relax, it's all noticed. It's enough. Stillness grows. The floor is cool and the roof beams creak as they settle into night. Each breath is another way to be here with God, not reaching, not explaining, only being in the same quiet. Let silence linger a little longer. Nothing more is needed. No one looks for words. It's just you, dusk, and one slow prayer rising. Soft, almost aimless, like the warmth left behind after the sun leaves, or the hush when someone believed they'd been unseen and finds themselves held quietly right where they are. You can rest in this. You can let go, as Bartimaeus did, sitting by the road, waiting, not asking, not dreaming big, just listening for a quiet touch, waiting for no reason other than to be noticed by a presence quieter than sound. Wordless and full, breathe again, slower this time. There's nowhere to go, nothing to say. The hush is shared. The prayer is shared. Stillness holds you where words can't reach. The night listens with you. Evening comes and finds Bartimaeus in his usual place. The old stone by the Jericho road still cools the earth beneath his legs. His tunic is slow to settle, the fabric folding around his ankles where the dust is soft. There's nothing new, just the weight of the day, the small press of air on his face. He does not see the world, but he hears it moving. Always the world is moving, sometimes a little, sometimes less than that. Tonight it is quiet. The sky is heavy with that slow blue hush that comes before true dark. Bartimaeus breathes and listens. In the far distance there are voices, soft, layered, never quite sharp. They lift and fall. Words don't carry this far, only the shapes of sound passed over stones, rolling toward him like the slow tide of an unseen sea. He waits. There is only waiting here. He runs his thumb over a thread at the hem of his sleeve. The thread is tired, almost gone, and he thinks he can feel the shape of the day within it, a little worn, a little uneven. A foot scuffs in gravel somewhere far off. Not close enough for a face, not close enough for him to guess the shape of the passerby. Just a muffled scrape, like the gentle drag of a stick along old cloth. It fades, returns to the softness. Bartimaeus leans his head gently against the stone at his back. He feels the coolness linger through the linen at his shoulder. He lets his shoulders drop. The air itself is slow. Farther away, voices move together. A crowd, maybe. There's a sound that only crowds make. When people gather, nothing is ever said all at once. Instead, their words climb on each other, blend. Laughter turns to low talk. A question drifts up, then is swallowed by the hush of another's answer. It all comes in waves, gentle and soft. If you listen a long time, you can almost sense who whispers and who waits. He does not listen for words. There's no need. Even the stones are part of the quiet chorus. He taps his heel just once to hear how the sound changes beneath him. The earth answers, faint and familiar. Folded cloth, pressed dirt, small grains shifting. These are his company tonight. The voices don't seem to approach. They simply exist, sometimes near, sometimes folding away, always gentle as the backs of hands smoothing flour. In no hurry, the sound drifts, pauses, and finds its way back to the edge of his awareness. There's comfort in not knowing what draws the crowd tonight. Maybe a traveling peddler, maybe just neighbors, maybe nothing at all. Bartimaeus breathes slow. Every so often, the wind changes the tone, voices lean into laughter, or a wheel squeals against a stone, never sharp, never urgent. Each sound is a lull, a small invitation to rest further into the cool dusk. He listens. The world is full, yet empty, like a half-spilled basket on market day. It is all right for there to be nothing new. The Lord lets the evening fall where it will. Bartimaeus finds the stillness and remains there. A beetle clicks past his foot, the sound so small he might only be imagining it. Nearby, a crow shakes its wings and settles. Far off, cloth flaps, a vendor perhaps closing his stand for the night. None of it matters, all of it matters. Just the living of it, sound layered over sound. Sometimes, someone up the road coughs or calls down to a friend, but their voices are so gentle in the dusk that they might as well be clouds passing. No one is in a rush. The road carries all footsteps away, not with a flourish but with a soft hush. Bartimaeus pulls his knees to his chest, wraps his arms around them, feels the rough place where a seam has opened at the elbow. Each texture grounds him, the woven sound of distant voices, the worn thread, the waiting stone. He is here. That is enough. Nothing is asked of him. Not here. Not now. He can just listen, the way a field listens for rain or a lamp listens for the morning. The air grows cooler. The crowd is still there, but now their voices come and go like a slow tide ebbing, not a force pressing near. There is peace in letting sound become soft. A small child giggles somewhere too far away for faces to be seen. The giggle ripples, quiet and bright, then is gently hushed by an older voice, perhaps a father or mother. There is nothing urgent. The night cares for them all, Bartimaeus included. Another stone rattles as someone steps wrong at the roadside. Then, as before, silence stitches up the moment, weaving it into the larger hush. All the day's small events are gently put to bed. Bartimaeus imagines what the road feels like, smooth in places, rough in others, one patch colder where the sun never reached. He listens to the crowd's edges, the rhythm at the boundary of quiet and almost quiet, where sound is barely there at all. He lets that be enough. Let the voices ebb. Let the air rest. He wonders if someone he knows passes by or if they are strangers. It does not matter. In the long waiting of dusk, everyone belongs to the same calm, the same road. He can hear the press of sandals as they strike dust, slow and easy. In between his own breath is an anchor, steady, patient, unhurried. The world calls nothing from him tonight. If he could see, perhaps this would be a sea of faces, some worried and some bright, but instead he lives the gathering as a tide of presence, gentle, unspoken. No one shouts, no one runs. The crowd stays where it is and the quiet stays with Bartimaeus. He listens for a sign but finds only the comfort of routine. The changing shape of evening, repeated sounds, familiar as an old basket repaired many times. When he leans forward, the earth beneath him holds. The night wind finds his cheek and lets him know he is seen. The voices of the crowd rise, then hush again, rise, then hush, just a soft lullaby, calling no one. The stars must be coming out. He can feel the air shift, the air cooling, corners of the world rolling themselves into night. Here, waiting is a blessing. Sight is not needed. Sound is enough. The world lies quiet beside him, as if God had pressed a gentle finger against all noise, bidding it slow down, move softly, let everyone rest. Bartimaeus barely moves. He hears the evening held with care, the world settling into silence, each distant footfall a gentle promise that, at least for tonight, everything is just as it should be. He asked for nothing and still felt full. A day like this moves in dust and soft chatter, people passing with the slow rhythm of travel. Bartimaeus sits close to the edge of the road. His hands are still, resting on the worn cloth in his lap. He listens not just to voices or the rush of sandaled feet, but to the space between them. There are always spaces, little gaps when the world becomes very quiet. Today the air feels thick, heavier than most days. Bartimaeus lets his breath stretch out like linen in the breeze. He knows how to wait. Every hour along this road has taught him something about waiting. He waits for footsteps, waits for kindness, waits for the afternoon to slide toward evening. Waiting is the work of his hands now. Crowds move past. Sometimes he can feel the people brush too close or hear a purse jingling with coins. No one stops. Not yet. Each step is a chance, but most footsteps keep rolling on like carts down a long, flat lane. Then almost nothing, the smallest shift. Sandals slow near where he sits, not hurried or heavy. Just the simple drag of leather on packed earth. Bartimaeus doesn't call out. He becomes very, very still. It feels like a house holding its breath when someone stands just outside the door. The stillness spills over him, slow as honey. Silence, close and full, settles all around. Even the wind holds back like it's waiting too. Time stretches. At first a heartbeat, then two, three. The moment stands open, holding its own shape. It's almost as if the world has decided to keep him company for a while longer. Bartimaeus feels the warmth of a body, close enough for one breath to reach him. He doesn't know whose feet have stopped. He doesn't need to. The pause itself feels like a gift carefully wrapped and left by his side. No words come. No questions, just a waiting so deep it could fill a whole night. In the space just after a pause, anything could happen, or nothing could happen at all. Both seem holy. He lets the moment slow even more, the way dough rises under a cloth, steady and unseen. There is no rush to be known, no hurry to be healed. Bartimaeus sits, letting the pause spread around him like cool shade stretching under a fig tree. Sometimes he thinks the waiting is enough, the quiet is enough. He could stay right here beside these feet in this hush, every hope tucked inside a silence, every prayer a slow exhale. He hears the world, but for now sits with what is not yet spoken. Stillness has its own voice. Beneath the sun, along the old road, Bartimaeus lets the sacred waiting hold him. Nothing happens, and that is everything. He sits by the side of the road, just where the stones start to feel warm from the afternoon sun. It hasn't rained for days, so the dust is soft, sifting between his fingers when he rests his hand on the ground. Across the path, someone coughs quietly and a sparrow kicks up a bit of loose earth with its tiny feet. The world feels slow, gentle, a little heavier for those who walk with purpose, but for Bartimaeus there's nowhere else to go. The sound of many feet passes by in waves, sandals brushing stone, a shuffling rhythm. Sometimes the sound swells up like wind, voices folding over each other, questions, laughter, a tired mother whispering to her son. Bartimaeus doesn't count the footsteps. He listens for the hush between them, those little drop-offs where everyone seems to breathe at once, as if they're pausing just long enough for the air to change shape. Today, the sun feels steady on his shoulders and someone's shadow slips in front of him, dimming the light. The ground cools just a little where the shadow falls. He senses a shape, a closeness, and then nothing. The smallest break in the air, like sitting near a woven basket. The sense that something is there but you couldn't say what. A robe brushes his knee. It isn't heavy or cold or sudden, just a quiet stroke of fabric, softer than wool, lighter than dust kicked up by the sparrow. The cloth doesn't claim attention, only the faintest whisper against skin. If Bartimaeus hadn't been sitting so still, he might have missed it. He does not move. His hands rest in his lap open. No request, no reaching out. He just waits. Let the moment stretch, he breathes, listening for the sound of the robe's hem as it slips away. The air stirs gently, trailing in the cloth's wake. For a heartbeat, nothing about the world feels different, but he knows, as one knows when a breeze moves the hanging laundry, that something has passed close by. Not a crowd, not a command, not a voice booming out, only a presence, the weightless ache of being known just for having been there. Sometimes a donkey brays nearby, a cart's wheel clicks on a pebble, two children squabble over a fig, their voices rising and then quieting as quickly as a breath. All around, life tiptoes forward. He remembers folding robes like this years ago for his father, feeling the nap of fresh cloth under tired hands, smoothing it as if that would bring order to a day. The old edges frayed, signs of many beginnings and many endings. He thinks of hands sewing, thread catching the sunlight, hard work going unnoticed. He wonders whose fingers mended the robe that just passed by. Even now, as he sits, there's a sense that the world is on the edge of stillness. Nothing is happening, yet everything is. The light pauses on the backs of his hands. His breath comes easy. This silence is holy. A neighbor trudges past, voice heavy with sleep. Bartimaeus thinks of how many days begin and end beside the road, unnoticed and full all the same. Someone drops a fruit pit on the dust nearby. Someone else laughs softly. The ordinary is stacked high all around him, as familiar as the cup at his feet, the uneven stones beneath him. He does not ask for anything. The silence offers its own reply, warm, settled, undramatic. The brush of the robe lingers, not as memory or miracle, but as a faint echo in the air, simpler than hunger, softer than a song. It is something that can only be felt when all the noise recedes, the nearness of a stranger, felt in the threadbare hush. Let your breath move slow. He wonders if the man in the robe paused, even for a moment, or if it was just a trick of sunlight and waiting. But the feeling remains, a fullness that arrives without searching, like the moment night slips through a window and you realize the day is over. No one notices the prayer, but it is heard. He lets his mind wander over small things, the cool press of dirt, the faint creak of an old door, the comfort of someone sharing shade. Nothing calls for his attention. The world is patient, so he is too. A breeze shifts loose hair at his forehead. Someone's sleeve brushes his shoulder as they pass. In these gentle exchanges, Bartimaeus feels the shape of a presence he can't describe. He does not open his mouth. He does not need to. He is seen. The world is enough in this quiet spell spun out between sun and stone and skin. Let this minute stretch, soft as linen laid flat for sleep. He has sat here through many afternoons, many winds, many bits of passing conversation rising and falling. Most days begin and end with the same small miracles: a neighbor sharing bread, a stranger dropping a coin, the sun lingering a second longer before it disappears behind the stones. This gentle brush of a robe feels like nothing, and yet he carries it quiet and whole. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Tonight, as you wait on your side of the world, let even the smallest nearness feel sacred. Let boredom be a gift. Let air become velvet. Let the hush before a word settle around you. There is nothing dramatic here, nothing demanding. Just the brush of a robe, the quiet reminder that God walks close, even when we are still. Rest, the silence holds you. The story keeps walking, just beyond the edge of your dreams. When the crowd had gone farther down the road, the dust settled back into itself. The noise thinned and scattered. People kept walking. Some looked back, but most did not. The day became itself again, quiet, shapeless, ordinary. Bartimaeus moved slowly. It felt strange to stand. Strange to notice how the world shaped itself around him, the weight of light, the blue of the air. Nothing pressed him to do anything. No one asked. No one hurried. The sandals of the last passerby faded away, and there was only this: a soft wind stroking the hem of his robe, the heavy hush that followed holy nearness. Stillness spread, not empty but full of quiet knowing. It cradled him on all sides, as if something kind, something alive, was tucking him inside the silence, as if the silence itself were a hand, anchoring him gently in place. All that had happened was beyond him now. All that mattered was how stillness could settle and hold and fill. He breathed and felt the newness, but let it become part of the hush, like dust becoming earth again. Let this silence hold me now. This hush is holy. He took a slow step and noticed how the shadow beneath him was clearer than before, but he didn't rush. Even his footsteps wanted to wait, to listen. Let stillness itself be presence. The hush remembers me. Someone coughed, far off. A woman called to a child to come inside. Even these, Bartimaeus thought, belonged to the gentle hush. A life remade but not loud, not showy or sharp, just the soft world bending into place. He could have run. He could have laughed or found someone to tell. But instead he wandered, close to the edge of the road, listening as each tiny sound cushioned him. The ripple of a far-off well, someone shaking out a mat, the creak of a shutter sill. Let silence be company. Let this rest stretch longer. Each breath in the hush is prayer. He touched the rough trunk of a fig tree, pausing, letting the bark press cool against his palm. He had waited so long, but now he found he didn't need to fill the newness with excitement. Just standing, just breathing was enough. The ordinary wrapped itself around him, steady and sure. He listened for footfalls, waited for a sign he should move on, but there was only the mild wind. Even in the stillness, he was not alone. The hush holds what is holy. Stillness knows my name. He sat at the shade's edge, back against the tree's roots. The scent of dust, sun-warmed and dry, drifted in the quiet. His hands rested in his lap, not reaching, not asking, just open. He was seen by something larger than what his eyes showed him. Seen in the hush, kept in the softness after all the movement ended. Let the hush be shelter. The silence is not empty. Each breath still is presence. He remembered the press of the crowd, the nearness, the touch, and let those memories float gently away. They did not need to be retold, not now. The quiet was enough. The quiet might be everything. No one came for him. No one called his name into the darkening air, but the earth felt closer as if it belonged. The hush was not a shadow, nor a pause between things, but its own world deep and wide. He waited. He listened. He let himself belong to the silence. It did not judge or hurry him. It only held him close like a cloak drawn tight. Stillness is holy. Presence is here. Even now he heard the slow beat of his own heart, slow and content. There was nothing else to do. He could stay here, wrapped in this hush, and know that being seen, once truly, had changed the whole shape of the silence that followed. Let this calm be my home. Let stillness fill every corner. I do not need noise or movement. I need only the hushed twilight gathered gently on the stones. Someone's lantern glowed from a distance, flickering like a silent word. Bartimaeus closed his eyes again, trusting that sight and silence could share the moment in peace. The hush waited with him. Let the hush linger. Let the silence love me. Let this holy stillness be enough. He asked for nothing and still felt full. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. Let the hush keep you. Let quiet moments gather around your bed. Let the silence itself remind you you are seen. The hush is holy, and it holds you. Also sleep now. In the hush that follows holy nearness, sleep. In the presence that lingers quietly, long after the miracle has moved on. The day lowered its voice by the roadside, letting Bartimaeus rest in the hush between footfalls. He pressed his back into the rough, warm wall, not just for support, but for the comfort that stone offered, a strong and steady friend at the end of the road. The wall held the sun's memory. All afternoon the heat gathered in its pale stones. Now, as twilight began to soften the edges of Jericho, that warmth seeped through Bartimaeus' thin cloak and into his shoulders. His body, tired and heavy, sagged gratefully into it. He let his head fall back and felt the weight of the day sliding from neck to jaw. Nothing left to hold up. Even his feet, always braced and alert for the stir of footsteps, softened against the dusty ground. There was no need to listen for coins or kindness. The crowds were thinning. The only rhythm left was his breath, in and out, slower with every minute. He ran one palm across the wall beside him. The coarse surface caught at the creases in his hand, familiar, steady. He traced the chipped shape of ancient stones, learning the city by touch. The wall, like him, stood quiet and unnoticed at the edge of things. He let his hand linger there, anchored. A breeze moved along the road, lifting bits of sandy soil and floating them across his legs. It felt good, not clean, exactly, but honest. All day he'd taken the world as it came. The uneven ground, the wandering goats, the hush when strangers paused to stare. Now, leaning against this wall, there was nowhere to be but here, nowhere to go but softer. His shoulders dropped. The ache in his arms loosened. Years of reaching, waving, begging, worn into every joint, seemed to lift away as stones bore the weight instead. Darkness curled around his ankles and crept up his spine, not cold, just gentle, tucking him in. The ground beneath him, usually so hard and indifferent, felt almost forgiving now. If he shifted a little, he could pretend the wall was a pillow and the earth a rough, cool blanket. He let his body get heavier, melting into every surface. Nothing was needed from him. He could let his face go slack, his mouth rest open if it wanted. He let his knees fall outward and his hands drop limply into his lap. Bartimaeus breathed quietly. the kind of breath that has nowhere else to be. That was enough. From nearby, he heard a woman talking softly to her donkey, the gentle, tired way you speak when there is no one else to impress. A child's laugh floated past, then faded. Somewhere, the slow thump of water carrying in a jar. Life kept folding around him, easy and unhurried, until it was only sound and weight and the warmth seeping from old stones. He let his attention wander to his toes, curled in worn sandals, each one still there, still carrying not just the dust of the day but the cool air of night coming on. He let his calves sink into the earth. He let his belly relax, rising only with the tide of each breath. The wall behind him pressed steady and cool against his back. He imagined it wasn't just stone, but a memory, someone's strong hand steadying him through long afternoons. Each time he breathed out, he let himself fall just a little more into the support behind him, like laying his head into someone's shoulder when words are no longer needed. He felt it, his own smallness held up by something older, wider, and still. There was no hurry. He found peace in the nothing happening, the empty spaces where nobody asked and nobody expected. Eyes closed, he could nearly see the hush inside his bones, as if his body had become a vessel for stillness itself. The air was thick with the scent of olives, soil, maybe the faintest breath of lentils cooking far away. Bartimaeus let the smells gather around him like a second blanket. In the warmth of the stones, he pictured old fires gone out, ashes cooled long ago, yet still giving off gentleness. Even the stones seemed to remember softer days, lingering touches, small mercies shared. He didn't need to know what time it was. He didn't need to know what tomorrow would bring. His hands learned every knot in the wall and drifted back to his lap, nothing urgent, nothing lost. He asked for nothing and still felt full. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. In this slowing, he let each breath settle deeper. Around him, the world got quieter. Each sound was farther away, or maybe his body was just heavier, rooted to this one spot. He felt dust gathering along his ankles, a little numb spot behind one knee, but it wasn't unpleasant. The discomfort was the honest price of having spent the day awake, alive, reaching. Now the reaching was done for the day. He let himself arrive at last, nowhere in particular. The wall, the earth, the cooling air, together they wove a cradle, nothing more was asked. He gave his weight to them quietly and they welcomed it. His bones had done enough. His heart, quiet in his chest, counted nothing and missed nothing. Even this silence is holy. He let his mind copy the stones, strong and patient, holding what needed holding and letting the rest slide by. He felt himself disappear into the dusk, edges softened, body so heavy he worried it would melt right into the ground. If it did, he decided he would not mind. He would simply rest, stone upon stone. There was a peace that comes to those who are too tired to push against the world anymore. Bartimaeus found it there, pressed close enough to hear the heartbeat of old Jericho, and that was enough. There was no light show, no thunder, only the slow, invisible miracle of being held in quiet until, at last, he drifted deeper into stillness, the world and all its stone perfectly in place. The quiet came slowly, as it always did, a long hush, folded over the day. Every sound along the road grew softer, as if sand filled the air itself. Some voices drifted, not with urgency, just moving past, fading like breath. Even the animals, tired and satisfied, left only a few gentle shuffles in the dust. Bartimaeus could feel the world lowering its shoulders. All day he'd stayed by that spot, with the rough stone beneath him and his back to the old sycamore. His blanket, heavy and plain, still caught the warmth from the sun, even as coolness crept in at the edges. His tunic sat bunched beside him, a bowl nearby, where some coins waited with their thin, bright clink. A jar with a broken handle, patched so many times it was thicker in some places, came to rest against his foot. It held a little water, not sweet, not cold, not new, just water, just enough. He set it down, then picked it up, feeling its shape the way he always did, moving his fingers against its lines. Up then around, up then around. Someone's sandals brushed by, deliberate but never rushed. Another voice, softer, set down a bundle, maybe bread or figs or a coil of rope. The day's gifts, unremarkable except for their being here now. No one hurried. Each tool, each vessel, each strip of cloth returned to its old, patient place. He folded his blanket over once more, smoothed it flat, then gathered it tight, pulling it under his chin, knees close. The act was slow, the rhythm unchanged night after night. Always the same corners, always the same creases. The simple safety of ritual in a world that kept moving. The air cooled. A bird landed somewhere above, a single twig settling, then settling again. Someone nearby murmured, a word half caught, half forgotten, just enough to remind him that others would sleep too. The last cup was emptied. Bartimaeus reached out, fingers sliding the rim, turning it upright, stacking it with the others. He set the coins aside, one by one, slow, metal against stone. Each coin like a heartbeat, counted out, then counted again. He settled deeper into the earth, back pressing against old roots, the breath of the road coming quieter, empty of travelers now. The world made smaller, safer by the closing dark. Dust fell, soft and patient, on everything. Blankets, jars, sandals, jars, water, blankets, nothing left but the settling, nothing left, but the body remembering it belonged here and nowhere else. And the night, unhurried, came to wrap him in its slow, ancient arms, another breath and another, each one easier than the last. The stones of Jericho cool after the long day, a thin layer of dust holding onto the memory of sun. The road is quiet. No voices, no rush, not anymore. Only the soft sigh of night settling down above. The moon lifts itself over the outer wall, slow and steady, like someone rolling a wool blanket carefully over a sleeping child. Its light drops in places and stays a while, cooling everything it lands on. It slides across olive branches, down roof tiles, and finally onto the flat stones by the roadside, where even the footprints are gone now. Moonlight always comes back to these stones. It knows the shape of the clay pots resting in the shadows. It finds the cracks in the wall and pools there, a pale silver, the color of quiet breath. The coolness isn't sudden. It doesn't rush, just arrives and stretches, gentle, like a hand smoothing rumpled linen over a bed at the end of a very long evening. Some nights, even the air listens. The hush in Jericho feels bigger than the walls themselves. It's the kind of silence that sits behind your shoulders, not empty, not waiting for anything loud or bright, just content to remain familiar. The moon keeps shining, slow and sure. It touches the jar beside the steps, the one left from washing. The same light drifts onto the tips of sandals left outside. Even the rough broom leaning on the wall catches a shimmer, as if it were waiting for its owner to return. Nothing moves, except this thin, steady brightness that wraps everything as if blessing it without a word. Beyond the road, someone might cough in their sleep, a kid might murmur, tossing on a mat. But then it's quiet again. The stones let go of their warmth. The grass by the fence glimmers in the silver wash. The sound of footsteps is nothing now, just a faded memory pressed into dirt. Even the fig leaves keep still. Moonlight at this hour is patient, never in a hurry, willing to spend all night watching over the world. It's hard to say where the shadows end and where the glow begins. The light settles on the road, the same as every night, but tonight it feels deeper, as if quiet could come all the way inside your bones. If you close your eyes, the light keeps going. Sometimes in the heart of this silence, it's as if the world itself is exhaling between miracles. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The stones, the sky, the sleeping town, held in a kind of peace that needs no reason. Even the invisible parts of Jericho, echoes in the alley, the far hills, are squarely in the moon's regard. Nothing is left out. If you listen to the hush, you might feel seen in that same gentle way. The night holds you like an afterthought God never forgot. The moon just keeps shining, washing the world clean before morning, again and again and again. Bartimaeus rested on his mat, the edge rough beneath his fingers. The day was gone. Footsteps had faded from the road. In their place was only the small song of insects, drifting softly through cracks in the old stone walls. Evening air moved around him, cool at last, and he pulled his shawl a little higher. Inside, someone closed a wooden door. It clicked quiet, like it always did. He found the comfort of empty space, no more curious voices, no hands reaching to lead or steady him, only the hush that stayed long after the noise had gone away. A neighbor stirred a pot with a wooden spoon. Water spilled once onto the ground and did not bother trying to dry itself. Carts rolled home, their tired wheels brushing dust into the night. He heard all these things, one by one. Bartimaeus lay down, slow and careful, letting his body sink into rest. His world was a mix of gentle ghosts, bread and oil lingering on the air, linen folded and placed close by. All the words he needed were simple tonight. God, stay near. Keep me safe as darkness covers the walls. Let me remember your light. Even with my eyes closed, hold my sleep in your hands. Surround my breath with your peace. Amen. Stillness finds me here. I am held. Nowhere to go, nothing to prove. Even in the quiet, I am seen, my breath is counted. Gently, this night is holy ground. Grace settles in. Without hurry, the Lord is near, and the world is gentle again. Amen. Amen. The night listens, same as he does. In the slow between breaths, Bartimaeus remembers he is not alone. He lets go, inch by inch, into the calm that waits for everyone. Sleep comes as a friend. Nothing is required. Nothing is missing. Only God and the soft world waiting for morning.